We are on the record in the Cult Mom conspiracy trial. I'm your host, Cody Thomas, and I'm going to walk you through the final moments, including the verdict, in the third and final week of Lori Daybell's trial, which just wrapped up in Arizona. Lori is already serving a life sentence in Idaho for the murder of her two youngest children and conspiring to kill her fifth husband's first wife. Now she's facing another potential life sentence for conspiracy involving the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. In week 3 of the Lori Daybell conspiracy trial, it all came to a head. After weeks of eerie testimony, apocalyptic beliefs, and disturbing details about a murder plot cloaked in a so-called divine revelation, the case finally landed in the hands of the jury. But before it did, day 9 began with final preparations. Jury instructions were read and both sides rested. Lori once again chose not to take the stand, and then came one of the moments we've all been waiting for, the closing arguments. Prosecutor Trina Kay wasted no time. She painted a chilling picture of a woman who manipulated religious beliefs to justify murder. She laid out the texts, the timeline, the motive, and the method. A staged scene, a deliberate execution. Lori Vallow, she said, was the architect.
July 18th of 2019, just 7 days after this defendant and her co-conspirator Alex Cox shot and killed Charles. Her actions and her words of texting Chad Daybell tell us the motives behind this murder. Chad and money. The morning of that 18th of July, Lori Vallow texted Chad and said, quote, "I just got the letter from the insurance company saying that I am not the beneficiary. It's a spear through my heart." Later that day, after she spoke with the life insurance company, she sent Chad another text. Quote, "So I talked to the insurance company. He changed it in March. Probably it was Ned before we got rid of him." Lori Vallow's words 7 days after Charles was shot and killed tells us that we was her and Alex killing Charles. Why? For that money. Lori's ex-friend, Christina Atwood. She told you about that very uncomfortable dinner on June 9th, a month before the murder, where Alex Cox was talking about just wanting to kill Charles. He said this multiple times, and this defendant didn't care. In fact, she talked about how she had been drugging Charles. Christina told you she was so disturbed by this, she actually went and saw Lori the next day, June 10th, and told her, if something happens to Charles, I'm gonna have to go to the police. Christina knew. She was right. Charles Vallow is dead today because this defendant and her brother Alex Cox conspired to kill him. They planned it out, and they had their weapons, and they orchestrated a way to ensure that Charles was back in the house where he was shot and killed for money and Chad Daybell.
Then, in a rare move, the defendant stood and addressed the jury herself. She claimed this was no conspiracy, just a family tragedy. A shocking act of self-defense, not a crime. Her voice was calm, her tone even. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state of Arizona has the 100% burden of proving that I committed a crime, a grievous crime, conspiracy to commit premeditated murder of my husband, Charles Vallow. On July 11th, 2019, we were interviewed by Chandler Police and released with no further instructions. This event was not planned or expected. It was shocking. The Chandler Police Department did treat this event just like it was, self-defense, and a tragic family event. We learned in this trial that Charles and I were obviously having marital problems. Regardless of what was happening in our marriage at the time, on July 11th, this was self-defense. When Tylee came out with the bat to protect me, her mother, Charles did not have to take the bat from Tylee and start swinging. At 62 years old, Charles had a choice that day and could have put the bat down. Why does the state want to blame someone for this tragic event? What evidence did the state show you in this trial that I wanted harm to come to my husband? We heard from Detective Duncan, who admitted on the stand that he had no idea what I meant in the text message when I said, "We will be like Nephi." The state's attempt to misconstrue the positive text message about a wonderful religious figure, Nephi, and try to turn it into an order to kill someone is absurd. This is an attempt by the state to try to retrofit a crime that doesn't exist.
This case relies upon all of the investigation that the police did. That day, when they knew that timeline was wrong, that day when they started to understand that the physical evidence at the scene was staged and wrong and didn't match what the defendant was saying, and then all of the evidence after that, culminating when this defendant told the man that she married later that she was having an affair with, as many times as she wants to say Charles was my husband. She didn't want him as her husband. She wanted Chad Daybell. She wanted that life insurance policy, and yes, she was angry about it. And she said, we got rid of him. That is her confession to you. That is why she is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
Then on day 10, less than 3 hours into deliberations, the call came in. The jury had reached a decision. The gallery filled, a quiet tension in the air, and at 6:48 p.m. Eastern, the verdict was read.
I'll ask the clerk to read and record the verdict.
In the Superior Court of the State of Arizona in and for the County of Maricopa, State of Arizona versus Lori Daybell, CR 2021-001704-001, verdict count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant, Lori Daybell, as to the crime of count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder occurring on or about July 11, 2019, guilty. Signed, foreperson. Is this your true verdict, so say you one and all?
Yes.
Guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in the death of Charles Vallow. With the jury dismissed, the judge accepted Lori Daybell's request to delay sentencing until after her next trial, where she's accused of conspiring in an attempt to kill her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. That trial is expected to start in early June, but for now, Lori waits, convicted again, and one step closer to Judgment Day. I'm Cody Thomas, and as always, thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time we go back on the record.